Welcome everyone to our weekly HDI local chapters live stream show. For those of you keeping score on Twitch or YouTube, yes, we missed last week. Yours truly took some time off the grid with my family to get recharged, and we are back and ready for 2021. Before we get started with the show, let's talk about our sponsor. Robert Half Technology helps companies build, deploy, and operate technology in the digital world by placing highly skilled IT professionals either on a contract or a project basis or even full time. So if you're looking for that perfect candidate, or if you're a candidate looking for that perfect job, or you just want to access additional valuable information on hiring and career insights, go online at roberthalf.com/technology. All right, so today our guest is JP Van Steerteghem. JP, I'm sorry if I butchered that, but anyway, let me tell you a little bit about JP before we bring him in. JP is a Field CTO with Dell Technologies. He works with customers to enable their digital transformation and to translate their business strategy into a technology vision and roadmap. Now, previous to Dell, JP was at Cisco Systems for 22 years in sales engineering roles, helping customers achieve business outcomes through technology. JP's technology experience spans from enterprise networking, data center, cloud computing, collaboration, cybersecurity, analytics, and enterprise software, and there's probably a lot more. So you should not be surprised why we have JP on as a guest today. JP, welcome to the show. Today, our topic is getting your head in the cloud. I know growing up, my parents used to say, get your head out of the cloud. Well, we're talking about telling people to get their head in the cloud. So, we remind our audience that technology is about lifelong learning. This is a nonstop endeavor, whether you're trying to get into technology, you're just into technology, or you're in the middle of career and you're thinking about doing something else. So JP, what does cloud mean and where did this all start?
Hey, Tom, thanks for having me. So I'm going to go back a little bit in time, right? And I want to start off with a question for you. You know what PABX stands for?
PABX. So I have to say, I think I can not cheat a little bit, but I've been in this field for quite some time, and I used to be a telecommunications technician. So I'm going to guess you may be talking about something like private branch exchange, kind of like I dealt with the phone systems is what I knew that term for. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Tom, we are aging ourselves. Absolutely. So, PABX stands for Private Automatic Branch Exchange. It was basically a private digital voice switch, where voice samples called pulse code modulation samples were switched using time division multiplexing technology. And all of that was controlled by a central processor, right? And that central processor was a high availability device because guess what? Back in the old days, the PABX was the main means of communications. And the CEO and the board of directors and the senior executives, they all used the voice PABXs to communicate with their employees, their partners, and their customers. Guess what? If that PABX wasn't working, no communication. Not good.
Nope.
Not good at all. Well, PABXs, they don't exist anymore. They're gone.
Okay, so JP, where are we at today then if they're gone?
What happened in the 90s? The internet came to life. The internet protocol, right? Initially, it was like to connect data devices, computers, right? But then, soon enough, it was about more than just data. It was about carrying voice and video and data, right? And as such, internet protocol started to replace time division multiplexing, and voice started to be carried over IP, which meant that your phone could be anywhere on the internet, and a call control could be somewhere in a central location, quote unquote, the cloud, right? And the call control would basically be an application running on an x86 server. I was controlling your end devices, and those end devices, you could move those end devices and you could keep your phone number. So that was, basically, technology evolving and basically IP overtaking time division multiplexing. The point I'm making here is that technology always changes, always evolves. And you mentioned it at the beginning of the call. You got to constantly be willing to learn, right? I'll start off with another example from the past. In the early 2000s, I was, a fantastic customer of a company called Amazon, an online book retailer, right? And they had built out a fantastic infrastructure, data center infrastructure that was basically being used to, host their catalogs, right? Their book catalogs, also to run their search, also to run their recommendation engines. It was running their, order entry systems, their billing systems, and so on and so forth. What they observed was that they had all this capacity and it wasn't used 100%. It was a lot of spare capacity. So they figured out a very innovative way to sell that excess capacity. And that's how public cloud computing came into existence. They figured out a way to sell computing to enterprises and to private, organizations, right? And, they were able to kind of market it in a way that, they said, hey, listen, this compute can be a lot cheaper than what you have on premises. Can be a lot faster than what you have on premises. It's easy to order. Just go online, pay with a credit card, and you have compute capability and storage capability. So as a result, many organizations decided to get out of the data center business and to move all their applications into the public cloud, right? Because of all these benefits. And at the time, I was working for a networking company, and I felt like, oh my God, this is affecting my livelihood. I would never have expected an online book retailer to become one of my competitors, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And the vision at the time was that, public cloud computing would be equivalent to what they also know, equivalent to the utility companies, right? You want electricity, you plug into the outlet and you get your electricity. You want compute, you plug your computer into an outlet and you get, access to applications in the public cloud, for example. So that was the idea behind public cloud. Fortunately, it never got that far because even today, about 15 years after the initial, advent of public cloud computing, there's still a lot of, compute and storage that is, available on premises, right? But again, this is an example of an unexpected player entering the IT industry. And as someone who is active in the IT industry, you gotta be able to adapt and learn, new players that enter into the IT business. So we have to come up to speed on public cloud computing.
Good.
Tom.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to say, I know some of the audience were saying that the audio is very soft, and JP and I talked about this. I think I've got it fixed, so I hope it's working now, but I don't know. You guys, give me is it working better? Can you hear JP a little better now? So I know, JP, I think you were getting ready to ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, Tom, question for you is, what 70-year-old compute concept is finally getting traction?
70-year-old. Man, that's longer than I've been in the.
Longer than most of us have been active in IT.
I have no idea.
Let me answer the question for you. Artificial intelligence. Right?
I'm embarrassed because we're at the university I work at. We're pretty much in that space. So, yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't have guessed that, though. I got to tell you.
Yeah, well, it was back in 1950s that Alan Turing kind of started to work in that space.
Yeah.
And finally we are seeing more and more applications that are starting to benefit from artificial intelligence, and that is because of advances in compute, advances in GPUs, advances in FPGAs, and so on and so forth. And we are seeing artificial intelligence basically show up in products that we are bringing to market. So going forward, when you look at new products, you're not only going to look at the speeds and feats of the product, but you're also going to look whether that product is a smart product, meaning that will it do certain things that back in the old days the operator was responsible for doing, right? Number two is that artificial intelligence is more and more being used or being leveraged to deliver business outcomes. For example, in the areas of supply chain, managing supply chain, there's a lot of artificial intelligence that is being utilized right now. It's being utilized in the financial services industry for risk management purposes. Has been utilized in the areas of video surveillance, for facial recognition, for example, right? And then last but not least, when you think about the IT infrastructure, it is anticipated that the majority of IT infrastructure is going to be used for artificial intelligence purposes. Artificial intelligence is going to be one of the major consumers of IT infrastructures going forward, right? So here again, you have, an interesting technology advance. A technology that was introduced like 70 years ago suddenly is becoming more and more relevant. And again, you got to have the ability and the willingness to learn, about new technologies.
Awesome. So we're down to maybe 3.5 minutes or so. I have a question for you, to ask for the audience. So thinking about artificial intelligence and cloud computing, how do you get into it, or what should you be thinking if you're wanting to tackle a career in cloud technology?
Well, what I was going to say is that it really doesn't matter what technology you pick, because at some point in time, when you pick a technology in the IT space, at some point in time, you're going to touch upon artificial intelligence. You're going to touch upon cloud. You're going to touch upon, high-speed connectivity like 5G connectivity, for example. You're going to, have to become proficient in areas of cybersecurity, which is a huge area of exposure right now within the IT infrastructure space. So, you can just pick one, and then, as you become more involved in that particular technology, you can then decide, maybe I should kind of, start to learn a little bit more about some adjacent technologies, right? So there's a lot of opportunity. It really, in my opinion, it doesn't matter which one you pick initially. Like, for example, I started in the voice space.
Yeah, yeah.
I've gone voice, data, video, analytics, cloud computing. So, I've done it all. Just the only thing that matters is the willingness to learn constantly.
Yeah, I agree, and I think one of the things that we talk about in technology, such as like artificial intelligence, but cloud computing can be said the same as like for people that have been in the field. I was a telecom technician. I also used to, after that, I worked for one of those big small package delivery companies, we'll just say that. And we had our own cloud computing, if you will, the old mainframe systems. We had 6 of them spread across the United States to handle our package data, and now I know of people that still work there, and they're moving all of that into the other cloud, that big book company. And so people that are working in those systems are afraid they're going to lose their jobs, but in reality, it just opens you up for other opportunities, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So where do you think we're going with all this cloud stuff?
Well, I think, cloud is going to continue to evolve. Initially, the idea or the vision was that, all applications would be running in the public cloud, like on someone else's computer, right? That's a different way of putting it. But what we've seen is that for reasons of, for example, data gravity, some of the data that companies have, it cannot just be based on in the public cloud. It needs to stay on premises. And because of data gravity reasons, the compute needs to be co-located with the data. So there's what we're seeing is now the evolution from public cloud to hybrid cloud, right? Where companies or organizations can now basically, locate their workloads where it makes the most sense, whether it's in the public cloud or in the private cloud, right? So also what we are seeing these days is that a lot of, especially with the advent of IoT, a lot of data is being generated in the remote locations.
Right. I guess that's what they are kind of calling edge technology. Is that kind of what that is?
Edge technologies, absolutely. So it is anticipated that over 50% of data generated over time will reside at the edge, not in a core data center, not in the public cloud. So what that means is that the cloud is now extending from public to the private cloud all the way into the edge, right? So the cloud is expanding.
Awesome.
Everything is becoming part of the hybrid cloud. That's what we're seeing. And cloud is going to touch upon all the technologies I mentioned. It's going to touch upon AI. It's going to touch upon 5G technology, edge technology. So that's where we see it going.
Well, JP, believe it or not, we are at the end of the show. It goes quick, I'm telling you. And,
that was fast.
Yeah, it was. And so I want to thank you so much for being a guest on our show, taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And I want to remind our audience to visit HDI Local Chapter's website for more information about us, and also to follow us on our social media sites. I'll list them in the comment section for Twitch and YouTube. I do want to tell everybody. Next week, we're going to have our second Smackdown. We're going to have a debate about working from home versus working from the office. So if you have any questions that you want to ask our guests, please make sure you either email me at the address on screen or be on that show next week to be ready to discuss it. And I'd like to thank everybody and have a good evening.